Looks like we got the live stream running, and get this set up. And I'm Moshe, coming to you from Israel in the Galilee, where I live. And today is the 23rd of March, and it's just about 8 o'clock in the morning, 2 minutes after. And the weather is not good, of course. I think we're in punishment weather or something. I don't know. We're looking at, it's going to warm up. A high of 68. It's 57 now. And are we going to get rain today? I don't know. Let me look at, no, it's skipping the rain today. How about that? It's saying cloudy in the morning, but I see the sun out pretty strong. Tomorrow, sunny again, high of 67, so it warms up slightly. The house will still be like an icebox. I could throw water down on the tile floor and grab some ice skates. No, I'm just kidding. And then they're giving us a forecast of 3 days of rain and pure misery for us. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And then Saturday, no rain. Sunday, we get dosed with more rain, as we do on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I mean, this makes me want to leave Israel. I mean, it's so miserable here, you have no idea. Now, the come around to this is, I don't know necessarily what's going on, other than how misery is exceedingly bad when it rains like this in Israel, because the houses are built not for this. They have no insulation. They're all concrete and tile. If we had temperatures of 75 degrees, it would be pleasant. But it's not. It's horrible. So the Galilee needs water. It serves as drinking water for a lot of Israel. And it's still low. So the Iranians say they're going to knock out the water desalination plants in the whole Middle East. So Israel has some areas in Israel dependent on that. We're not. Some are. So he might be building up our water in the Galilee for us. So it might actually prove to be a good thing. But it sure is making everybody miserable. Okay. This war going on may not end until the people in Israel start turning back to Jehovah. I'm just telling you that. Get ready for that. It'll transition around, but it's not going away, I don't think. Okay? I don't be looking for an end. It just came out that one missile city, these are underground, heavily fortified or armored or protected missile launch sites that have lots of missiles in them. Lots, like probably hundreds. It took 250 bombs, up to 300. I believe they lost count. There was so many, till they were able to knock that out. Over 250 bombs. before the war began, they told us that Iran had at least 100 of these missile cities they knew about. Okay? Now, these were not the big monster bombs. These were regular bombs, which could have been up to 2,000 pounds. I don't know what the weight of each bomb was. Probably at least 1,000. Well, it was probably 1 to 2,000 pounds. So if you run with this, you would have to drop 25,000 bombs to disable 100 of their missile cities. Now, there would be ones or B-2s here recently that disabled some missile launch sites, these missile cities in Iran near the Straits of Hormuz. I think 2 of them got knocked out. Now, they were using, if I got it right, I don't know, they were probably using 5,000-pound bunker busters that penetrate. So they might have dropped, I don't know, a dozen on them or something. Who knows? Maybe they dropped 25. I don't know. They seem to think they disabled those places. Now, would the 30,000-pound bombs do it? I don't know. Guys, when you build a missile launching city into the side of a mountain, and you got hundreds of feet of dirt and mountain on top of you, you're not getting, you could have 900 feet of mountain on top of you. How are you getting through that? You'd have to have a 150,000-pound bunker buster bomb. You'd have to build a special plane for it. You can't do it. What I'm telling you is that the war is not close to over. And it's going to expand to Europe any minute. And I'll go through this stuff with you today, but I think you need to understand how bad it is. It's very bad. And if you think you're not going to get affected in your home country, remember the scripture, to the Jew first, the good, the bad, and then the good. You're going to get the bad too. It just starts with Israel. Now, we'll go through what Trump is doing and how some of it is fairly stupid and some of it is pretty good. We'll go through it tactically and spiritually. Basically, Trump is in a snare with Iran, and he's starting to do a lot of things he didn't plan on doing. And I think we're going to see America expend a massive amount of munitions on this Iran conquest and supporting the other Muslim states in the region are going to drain the weapons down of America. And America's going to be deploying more and more weapons out of frustration to get rid of Iran. And it's going to run its own resources down, which is going to open up the door for the attack on the daughter of Babylon. That's the snare, Jeremiah 50:24. America, not Trump. America's in a snare. They're going to have to put way too much into this that they didn't plan on. And Russia and China are just watching and waiting. Ukraine is hitting generally with drones, something to do with the Russian oil industry every day. So Trump runs Zelensky to a great extent. So Zelensky is playing ball and trying to destroy the Russian oil industry. Okay? And Trump is trying to destroy the Iranian oil industry, but not destroy it, to conquer it and keep it for himself. And he thinks he's got control of the Venezuela oil industry. I'm not so sure he does. Neither are the oil companies, because they don't seem to be willing to put billions in to go in there and build up the production. So the way Trump sees it, he's going to control Venezuela oil, Iranian oil, and American oil. He's not too happy about the Middle Eastern countries losing their oil because he can control them. That's not making him happy. In other words, if he can control the oil, what can he do? He can break China without a war. And that's Trump's method. Let's have a war without a war. Doesn't work. So what does he intend to do? If he gets rid of Russian oil and controls Iranian oil and Venezuela oil and American oil, basically he can pressure China into playing ball with America to get oil. Okay, plus other countries, India. There's no more going to be workarounds for countries that want to get oil without being friendly with Trump. See, so he becomes the oil czar. That's what Trump wants. That's not what Trump gets. Okay? That's not how it works. And that's his mistake, and that's the snare, and that's one of the big things that's going to drag him down in the Iranian thing. This Karg Island, he should just bomb it. It would cost him maybe, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 bombs, at most, maybe 10, and just blow it up. That's it. But nope, he can't bring himself to do it because he wants to control the oil. So we got a real problem with Trump and this. Now we find out that Trump and Israel cannot take out these missile cities because they don't have the capability of putting 250 to 300 missiles on every one of these missile cities, although they should have started working on that after they took out the radar and the air defenses, ignored everything else, and just went and hit the missile cities day after day after day after day, even if it took them a whole day to hit one missile city. They'd be getting there. They're not getting there. Okay? The only boots on the ground that Trump has any intention of deploying is Marines not on the Iranian mainland, on this Karg Island, 15 miles away from Iran, in the Straits of Hormuz. That's it. That's all. Not going into mainland Iran. So we're getting more and more of a realistic picture, and now we know that Iran's missiles can go 4,000 kilometers, and We're going to go through a lot of this. Let me go check the live stream, make sure it's running good, and then we'll get into it. There's a lot of important stuff today, and I'm going to try to tie it into prophecy with you. And it looks to me like the whole Middle East is going to be emptied out except Israel. Now, I don't see that specifically in prophecy, but it looks good. We'll get into that. It's cold in Greece, somebody says. So, yeah, it's probably a lot of places. Thank you, moderators. What do we got here? Let's see. Cheeseburger Y come into a chat that talks about Holy Bible teachings with watchmen's using language like that. Comments. I guess it was blocking some foul comment. Okay, we got a lot of people that I don't know who shook their egg, but they just like to come in and make insults to strange people they don't know just for the sake of insulting them. You could only imagine what kind of parents they had, what those parents believed in and practiced to have kids grow up like that, man. That's not real good, is it? Raising the kids to be chat room tough guys. Well, they don't raise them that way. The kids come out that way, and they don't know what to do about it. They probably aren't even around to know what's going on. Can only wonder what kind of a house they live in. I should have said household. I'm checking for typos. We're good. Now I gotta get this up. Okay. Looks like we're good. People are coming in. Let me shut that. Okay. Being a Bible believing site, I'm going to do some praise. You could join in. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay, so why do I think we're going into some very dangerous waters that are going to be really rough navigating for a lot of people? Because Iran is going to be attacking the whole region, their energy, in other words, their grid, their desalination plants. So Iran is intending to destroy the electrical grids of Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Oman, Jordan, and Saudi Arabia. This would probably have the effect of impeding the ability for these countries to work with America, such as let America use their operating bases, their airports, basically, to attack Iran. Okay. The airports may suffer in these countries if the grid is down. They may not have their own generators at the airport, although they generally do. It remains to be seen how that's going to play out, doesn't it? Yes. And water desalination. Now, knocking the grid out may knock out the water desalination plants as well. We don't know how everything is going to, how the dominoes are going to fall when the grid goes out, because they're going to hit their power plants. And they're going to try to hit Israel power plants. Israel's going to defend pretty heavily against that. In the past, we've done pretty good. We've improved our game in the last night. We're getting back to better takedown ratios on their missiles. Now, started out good, then it got bad, and now it's good. They might have found some way they could improve their missiles, and we got over on them. And we're back to quite a high success rate on takedowns of incoming missiles and drones. Drones, we're batting close to 100%, 98, 99. Missiles are not that great, but we're doing better and better at it. Okay, now let's see if it holds. Trump gave the Iranians a 48-hour ultimatum, which is over. Today's Monday, so you go, we're in the morning, Monday, 8 o'clock-ish, so you go 12 hours, you got 8 o'clock at night, and then you go 4 hours, you're on Tuesday. So I'll tell you how many hours it is. It's 12, 16. It's 17 hours and about 17 hours and a half, roughly from now, something like that. It's 1:44 in the morning Israel time, Tuesday a.m., like 1 hour and 44 minutes after midnight, right? So is Trump going to immediately strike or take his time? Normally take his time. He might, to enhance the effect, he might strike immediately, but I don't think so. He's definitely going to try to get rid of any power grid, electric generators, nuclear, well, they don't have those, electronic, electricity generating plants are going to go throughout the country. They're going to have to do it. Okay. Now, the thing that I'm wondering about is how is that going to bear down on the missile cities, of which we think there are 100? Well, let's understand that these missile cities need to have a source of electricity. Let us also understand that these psychiatric cases in Iran running the government needed to spend a lot of time and money on building these missile cities that weren't easy and cheap to put together. They know their electrical grid is not secured very much, as most electrical grids are not. So they would have to be perhaps stupider than they are to just put electrical generators, to not put electrical generators in these missile cities. So when you blow the grid up, the missile cities are not functional. They need electricity for anything and everything, okay? Could they run the missile cities with generators? Yes. It gives them another vulnerability. Could the entire generator be positioned inside the missile city? Not easily, but it would. You could. You'd have to put a furnace in there and have like a ventilation, a chimney, immature chimney or something like that. That brings the spent gases and the smoke up to the surface and releases them, wouldn't you? Now, could that smoke be detected? Could that heat be detected? Yes. Could the American jets and probably Israeli jets detect the heat? Yes. Could they bomb easily the electric generators? No. If they're all the way down in the missile city, no. Could they easily bomb the spent gas and smoke escape route of the missile city to get the gases out from burning the fuel for the generator? Yeah. That I'm sure they can accomplish. What would be the net effect of that? Well, if they didn't shut the generator off, they'd be choking on their own smoke and gases. Not just smoke and dying. Enough hours in there, they'd be dead. Okay, so yeah. Do you understand the problem? It's a multifaceted problem. It's a problem for us, America and Israel, and it's a problem for Iran. How else could they do this? Well, they could have an underground missile city, maybe near a big building, and have a big cable line, like a 6-inch electric line, 100 feet underground or something, going there, and they're feeding the electricity into the missile city from the building. Well, the grid in the building goes down. So that doesn't work anymore. You understand? So what it's going to boil down to is, can Israel and America detect the heat and the smoke from the generators keeping the missile cities running? And I would say 99% chance of that, maybe 99.8%. I mean, they're going to pretty much get it done. And then they don't have to drop 250 bombs. They just got to drop 2 or something by it's probably going to be a pipe or multiple pipes. Ventilation duct, you might think of it as more easily. Taking or allowing the smoke and the bad chemicals from the burning of the fuel to run the generator to get out of the missile city. Now, if they had no people in the missile city, they certainly could allow it to run with the smoke and the gases in there, but I think eventually they destroy the place that way. And I don't believe they could operate these things without any people whatsoever. No way. You look, is this complicated? Yes, it's very complicated. Not very, but it's complicated. So is this going to mean an end of the missile launching when the grid goes out, which could be tomorrow night in Israel during the night? You might actually see some of these missile cities shut down, but you're not ever going to see all of them. Some of them are definitely going to run on generators. And then when we see the generators get turned on, we're going to have to figure out how to go after them. Now, the generators could be above ground someplace, right? And there's some sort of a cable taking the power, the electric, and turning the generators, making electrical power, running a line into the missile city, but I don't think so. If they put the generators out in the open, it's just even easier for us to find them and blow them up. You don't have to blow the missile city up. If the grid is down and their generator is down, how are they going to do it? I'm rather certain that you need electricity to fire them. You got to open up, there's got to be something on the roof that opens up that lets the missile fly out, right? If you had your roof closed and you launched a missile from inside, you're going to hit your own roof and blow yourself up and kill yourself. That's an easy one to understand. So you have to get an opening. Well, do they have an emergency opening procedure where some guys could sit there with a crank and sit there like this and get it to open? They might. But they're not going to get it open and close fast, I don't think. Listen, they're going to be in for some trouble, but don't think it's that simple. It's not. They got waves of other stuff coming I'll touch on. This is, did they know they were going to lose their Air Force? Yes. Did they know they were going to lose their Navy? Yes. Did they lose all their Navy? Not hardly. You still got someplace between 1,500 and 3,000 go-fast boats. Maybe they took out 50. There's tons of them. So, yeah, the Navy's not defunct. Have they taken out all their little mini submarines and other submarines? And how many submarines do they have? Do we know? I don't think we took them all out. They're lying and telling states that, hey, we're only closing the straits to our enemies. If, you're not one of our enemies, your ships can pass in and out of the Persian Gulf under our control. So what you got to do is, let's say you're from country XYZ, you have to sit there and say, well, I believe we got a good enough relationship with So did everything start yet? No. We're still attacking. But I heard that Israel started attacking the infrastructure last night. Remember, Trump gave them a 48-hour warning. Did Israel? No. So I'm not sure what infrastructure they're hitting. I haven't gotten feedback yet. It just got worse for the world, much worse. Not just North America and Europe, but Asia, South America, Africa, everything. Let me explain. The finance minister of Iran, he's probably on the endangered species list now, not long for the world. He said that anybody, any nation, he means, buying Israeli bonds is financially supporting Israel. No, he said America. Let's get into that. I believe he didn't say Israel. He said America bonds. Anybody buying America bonds is supporting the war against us, and they will be struck. So if you live in, I don't know, you tell me, let's pick a place, Ecuador, and they buy American bonds, they'll get stuck. What about countries like Panama and Costa Rica that I think it's no, it's Panama. There's two countries that use the American currency. One is Panama, forgot the other one, and they might get hit. I don't know. China buys American bonds. They're going to hit China. I don't know. I don't think so. They're whack jobs. But they intend to expand the war. Now, the takeaway you need to have is they knew all this stuff to some extent was going to happen to them when they began the war. But what they're banking on is they're going to be launching missiles after the other countries run out of missile launch capability and other capability, and that's going to give them a dominant position and they're going to take the world over. That's their delusional dream. I don't think they're going to get where they want to be. Okay, we got a prayer request. Let me put it out there. It's for PB, Papa Bravo, and EB, Echo Bravo. Papa Bravo, Echo Bravo, we're asking the Lord to heal the marriage. Okay, Papa Bravo, Echo Bravo, prayer request to heal the marriage. Okay? All right, that's the only prayer request I have today. Do I think it's a lie that Iran has over 100 missile cities or 100? No. No, that was done before the war. They got them. They're all over the land of Israel. Presidente El Trumpo on Channel 13 says, the ultimatum on the power stations will work very well. I hope he's right, and I want to tell you he may very well be right. There will be total destruction of Iran. It will work excellently. That is Jeremiah 49, verse 34 to the end of the chapter. That Elam, which is Iran and probably Iraq too, part of it, or Iraq, maybe a little Saudi Arabia in there, gets destroyed so bad that people leave and scatter into every nation in the world where the sword follows them and they get cut off. So, maybe the nice people, the protesters that are against these Muslims, insane people, get cut off and killed, and the ones scattering to the rest of the nation are the Muslims that want to kill everybody else, and that is who gets cut off. It's not going to be long till you start hearing about helping people leave Iran. Nations helping people get out of Iran. Iran's got 7 countries on the border. The countries that might help them get out would be basically Turkey, Azerbaijan, Armenia, maybe Pakistan, maybe Afghanistan, maybe. So they need a ground route, and then when they get to the other ground route, they can go to refugee camps, which the UN sets up, or go to other countries which are dumb enough to take Muslims in. But it does say they're going to go to every country around the world, and that's what's going to happen. Okay. Will this knock out the water desalination plants? I'm rather certain. The plants probably could run for, oh, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 days on generators, something like that, and they'll probably go down. Do I think they could run the water desalination plants for a month or two without the electrical grid? That'd be pretty atypical for that. Usually it's just they set it up for a few days in case there's an auto accident that it knocks out the grid, or lightning or something like that, till they can repair it. That's usually what they'll do. So a lot of the countries are going to let the Iranians go in there. You'll see that start happening. It may start happening this week if the grid does go down. Now, does it mean Trump's gonna, if the time is up at 1:44 a.m. Tuesday, does that mean at 1:45 you're gonna see all kinds of jets taken off? Maybe, but maybe not. They don't have airports to fly the people out. From Iran, they don't have passenger ships to put them on. So the way that people got to get out is on foot. They take a bus, a car, a taxi. They get up to some border and walk out. Now, can the IRGC set up at that border and machine gun them when they try to leave? Sure. They may not bother. The Americans may give them helicopter and jet cover and kill the IRGC if they try that. We're in recompenses, and these nations, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Oman, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, in addition to Edom, which is Yemen and Lebanon, and Syria and Turkey to a good extent, they are squatting on our land, and in many of these cases, pumping our oil and becoming rich, and at the same time, dealing with us with hatred and disdain and nasty aggression in some cases. And they're getting recompense because it's the recompense concerning the fighting over Zion. So these countries are getting it, not from Israel, they're getting it from their own kind, brother fighting brother. Very insulting. And they may be leaving their country. Yep. If they lose their desalination, they're making water, which Iran wants to do. And Iran is saying that they're going to destroy the oil and natural gas facilities and manufacturing facilities of these countries in the Middle East in a deep way. So that it's going to be, they're using terms like permanent, long lasting damage. Can it be done? Sure. So if that happens, the people living in these countries, like in the UAE, in the afternoon in the warm weather, it hits 110. A lot of these countries it hits 120 in a lot of these countries, including UAE. Now, people stay off the street from about 1 or 2 o'clock till about 4 with the peak heat of the day. But how are you going to run that place without a grid? How are people going to go up and down in apartment buildings that are more than 6 stories? Now, a 6-story walk up is, I'd say, the maximum that you're going to get away with. Beyond that, most people aren't going to want to do it. How many of you, without air conditioning in high heat over 100 degrees, are going to be able to walk up a 25-story or a 45 or 50 or 60-story building to get your apartment or your office when it's 100 degrees outside? I'd say nobody. I mean, maybe some of you young people that are fit and you took yourself a couple of liters of water would make it up there. You'd be not in great shape. You'd probably have to rest 8 or 10 times, but the stairwell would be very hot. Nobody would do it. Why would you do it? You'd be the only one up there. What would be the point? You want to rob the place? Maybe you do it then. But who's going to go up there and do it? Nobody. They got a lot of buildings over there that are more than 50 stories high. I mean, if you had a 10-story building, maybe some people would actually climb up, okay? Maybe. But if you had a 4-story building, people shoot right up, no problem, right? 6 stories, maybe, but that's where it stops. The walk-ups in New York, they usually stop them at 5 floors, not 6 in the old days. But the person that lived on the 5th floor was not a happy camper. Now, I know I lived in a building many years ago in Israel. I was on the ground floor, and it went up 4 or 5 floors, and it had no elevator, and it was hot as blazes. But the air conditioning was on well, nobody really had air conditioners back then. So did people go up and down the steps? And yes, people did it. Yes. People did it. But that wasn't, more than it's been so many years since I ever stepped foot in that apartment building. Let me think. I think it was 5 floors. It was about that. So you might see many countries empty out. I can't find a general emptying out in the scriptures. So I was thinking maybe Elam means, Jordan. No, definitely doesn't mean Jordan. Turkey, no, it's not that. Lebanon, no. Syria, no. Could it include Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Oman, and Iraq? Maybe. I know how we can check this. Hold on. Regarding biblical ELAM, is it possible that it also included Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Oman? I don't trust one of these AIs, but maybe we'll try a few. No, they're saying it's mostly Iran. See, the AI is not correct all the time. Let me see if I could get it messed up here and straighten it out. There are historians that state that ELAM at times included Iraq and parts of Iraq. This could also have included Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, etc. also. Hey, we don't bark in the house, remember? It says you're right to notice that some historians and maps show Elam at its widest influence extending beyond its core, but it's important to separate the differences. It did push into Iraq, Mesopotamia, I think, back then. So let's go back and see what these countries were called in the days of Elam. That might get us some insight. What were the biblical names, if any, for Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, and Oman during the time of ELAM? Now, if it tells us there were no biblical names, then we got it. The Bible does not give clear, direct names for Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, and Oman. So they're trying to say now that it's clumped into Arabia. No, Arabia is Saudi Arabia. You see, AI is screwed up with doctrine. Okay, they're going to give you the church party line, or the church people, of which there's 2 billion in the world, counting the Catholics, are going to turn against AI. So, since we don't have names for Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, and Oman, we don't have names. Then they were probably included in Elam. Otherwise, they would be independent states, which we never heard of because there's no name for this geography. So you had Elam up on top of it, and you had Iraq under and to the side. You have no basis for this. So that's why I believe the Lord was showing me these countries are going to empty out. Now, Saudi Arabia is in there. That's Dedan. Jordan is Moab and Ammon. That's in there. Turkey is in there. Lebanon is in there. Of course, Israel's Israel. So, and Syria is Syria. So these places that have names, I wouldn't lump in there, but they're not evacuating either. The nations up there by the Gulf states are the ones trying to survive on desalination for the water. When you go on cruise ships, if you drink their water, which is not going to get you sick, it won't get you sick. It's desalination, and it's okay. I generally drink bottled water on a cruise ship, although I haven't been on one in a million years, but that's what I would do. I used to get Evian. That was my favorite. Last time I took a cruise was 2009, I think. So, um, so that's what we got. That's why I think they're going to empty these countries out. You follow my logic? These historians got no place and time to put this because to these Satan bots, it's revolting and disgusting and frightening beyond belief to realize that something would happen to these people squatting on Israel's land, which means Israel's going to take it back. If I can get my grin to go ear to ear, I would do it. So I think we're going to see the people leaving these countries, the squatters. And the sword is likely going to follow them too. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Where, if you're not putting these people in Elam, where the heck are they? Parts of Syria, parts of Iraq, and Iran are Elam. So where are you going to get this strip by the edge, by the southern edge of the Persian Gulf of Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, and Oman? Where are we going to invent this? The churchianity prophecy people are just going to ignore it. But how can you ignore it? You see what I just constructed here with you? You can't ignore it. It's got to be in there. If it wasn't in there, it would have another biblical name back in the days of Mesopotamia and Babylon and all that. Okay. And it doesn't exist. There is no other old biblical name for it. So it's got to be in Elam. Rest my case. So they're all going to be leaving. And what a great time for them to get let into the other nations where the sword follows and kills them than the prophetic period of recompenses. I don't know who I'm applauding. I don't want to start saying I'm applauding myself. The Holy Spirit is the one that led me. The Lord led me to this. I didn't get this bright idea today myself. I got the idea that they would be leaving because Iran's going to hit the grid. Their electricity is going to go out and the water desalination is going to go out and their oil's already been destroyed. So give me one good reason why these people are going to stay there. What are they going to do? When you're dealing with Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, and Oman, have you ever bought an oven from any of these countries, or a car, or a bicycle, or a motorcycle, or a washing machine, or what else? A piece of furniture? I don't know. Anything? No. No. What have you bought from them? Nothing. Clothing? Food? What are you going to do? Eat Bahrain peaches or Kuwait strawberries? They don't have any of that stuff. They fly a lot of their expensive food in, but they're not flying in so much now because their airports are getting attacked. What's happening with shipping into Israel by boat, no trouble. It just flows. So we get a lot of stuff. Okay. Some things that come in by air, they're parking in Europe and then they get in a queue and they bring a little bit in every day. What Israel is doing now for flights going out, it changed somewhat. Okay. They're letting you go out 50 people on a plane. So a plane that holds 350 people is holding 50. So, and they're not doing any baggage. So again, I'll review to you why would they do this. Okay, number one, there's limited shelter areas in the terminal. And they don't want to have what in Hebrew there's a word called a balagan. Chaos, like
a traffic jam.
Yeah, like Columbus Circle at 5 o'clock in Manhattan or Rome at 5 p.m. Everybody's going in all different directions, blowing the horns. Motorcycles are weaving in and out of the traffic, and it's just crazy. You don't know what's going on. Okay, so if you had the regular terminal traffic, the balagan at the airport would be so bad, the amount of casualties you'd get with people trying to make it into the shelters would be probably very high. And what do you usually get from those kind of casualties? Well, wrist problems, knee problems, ankle problems, more than anything else. So these things are generally treated by the paramedic on the scene, not always, but generally. And then you follow up with doctor visits or something. So that's one problem. Okay, the other problem with the baggage is if you got to race to the shelter in the terminal, you're going to try to schlep your 3 suitcases with you. You're not going to get there on time. The other problem is the space in the terminal isn't going to allow you to bring your baggage in there. So they're going to be fighting with the people. Leave your baggage. Go in the terminal. People say, I can't leave this. This is my computer. I can't. You got the idea? It's a nightmare. Okay. So what if you're only dealing with 50 people and you just got carry-on, and they say go to the terminal, and people just pick up their carry-on and they briskly go into the terminal and the shelter, and that's it, right? You see the difference? It's a big difference. Now, when you're in the terminal, you can access the shelter. When you're out on the runway, which a lot of times Israel you might walk. Hey, the last time you were at Ben Gurion, right? Do you hear me?
What?
The last time you were at Ben Gurion, when you were taking off to leave, did you go on a bus to the airplane or you just walked out on a ramp?
It totally depends on the airline. If it's a bigger airline, they usually keep it in the main terminal, and you can get off on a ramp. But there's many times I've flown to Europe that I've gone out on a bus to the airfield.
Thank you. There are some, most of the time you're going to get on a bus. So in other words, you're waiting in the terminal like you would at Kennedy or Atlanta or something like that, right? And they got all these, when the planes pull up, there's a ramp, you walk out on the ramp and you get in the plane, right? Okay, do they have that in Israel? Yeah, but not that much of it. Okay, what happens much of the time? Well, they call your flight and you walk up to the gate, but you're not really going in a gate. You're walking down some steps, and now you're out on the tarmac, and there's security people around you watching you like a hawk, watching over you and watching you, and then you walk onto a bus. Now, they're not the biggest buses in the world, but they're pretty good size, and they have usually a row of them. and you bring your carry-on and stuff, and you just walk on the bus. Nobody checks you for anything because you already got checked with your boarding pass and stuff before you left the terminal. So you get on the bus, and they follow you with what I used to call a war wagon, a blacked out vehicle that's got, it's a war wagon, guys. Let's leave it at that. It's got weapons, okay? It's there to protect you and protect everybody. Okay, so that'll follow the bus. Then you get out of the bus, which could be a 2-minute bus ride or something. It's not going to be 10 minutes. It's pretty quick. And you get out off the bus, right, very close to where you see the staircase to go up in the plane. And then the stewardesses fight with you and try to take your carry-on and check it. And, you could fight with them and, no, I need it, stuff like that. You walk up on the plane and that's it. Okay. So why are they worrying about this and they just want 50 people? Because if you're just going on the ramp to the plane, you're near a shelter until you start walking on the plane. Now you're no longer near a shelter. And then you get on the plane. Well, they don't want 350 people getting on the plane because that's going to take quite a few minutes. 50 people might get on the plane in 3 minutes because they're going to say, hurry, 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 come on. You sit here, boom, 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 buckle up, boom. And then they get the plane, pulls away. There's very few flights, so you don't have to wait. The plane pulls away. The guy gets on the runway and he's up in the air. Once he's up in the air, he's basically safe, okay? So your most exposed time is when you go to the ramp to get on the plane and you show them your boarding pass and you start walking down the ramp. Because once you're in that setting and they blow sirens and you got to go to the shelter, it gets harder. When you're on the plane, which happens a few seconds later, it's really hard because now you got to get your carry-on and get out of there. Okay. So with 50 people, the boarding process with everybody going, come on, hurry up, is going to be minutes. It's going to be very, very quick. It might be 5 minutes. Okay, quick. You're in the plane. You're in there, and then they take off. Okay, they're not doing nothing except getting you seated. And after they take off and gain altitude, then the stewardesses will come back and help you with a blanket, or you want a cup of coffee or water, or that kind of thing, right? Okay, so that's not happening until the plane's up at altitude. Okay, and the plane's going to go right out over the ocean in the Mediterranean. So in a matter of minutes, it's going to be 40, 50, 100 miles out at sea. So, okay. This is the difficulty there. Now, coming back, they want a similar situation. They don't want a big full plane. They want the plane to have extra gas. With lightening the passenger load, he could jack up his gasoline. And he could fly in many more circles out over the ocean if he has to wait, 10 or 15 minutes for missile and drone alerts. It's easy. Okay. Then when they land, getting off the plane's not that bad either. I don't know if they let them bring carry-on, checked baggage either. Maybe they can't, so they just get the heck off, quick. Your most vulnerable point is on the plane. When you're in the terminal, you got access to a shelter. When you're leaving the terminal and you're on the bus and you're going to the plane and you're in the plane on the tarmac and the plane's not up in the air yet, you're very vulnerable for an attack. That's why they're keeping the flights down, and it's very bad because you can't get cargo in easily. they put you in a queue, and then eventually they manage to get you in. The things that come first are medical shipments. So pharmaceutical supply of medicine is coming in on planes quicker. Probably a lot of medicine comes on boats too. Stuff that it's not going to need refrigeration, although the boats can refrigerate. Container ships run reefer, they run refrigeration. But that's your primary, and then government shipments of whatever nature are primary. And then comes the regular shipments. Post offices are, I think, working. The post office is usually quite bad. I think it's probably a nightmare now. So that's what we got going on. So it's very difficult to get packages. I just ordered some herbs, and it could be, you could have a wait. A lot of times they stage the packages in Europe, different airports in Europe, and they wait, and then when they get an opening, boom, they just send the plane right in. So I guess the cargo planes land, and they offload the cargo, and then the plane probably has to spend time refueling and this and that, and then goes back out. So it's really it's annoying. Shortages in the store and food is not that high, because a lot of the food doesn't come in by air. It's coming in on boats, and they truck things in. Now, they might change things with the cargo. I'm told that they could bring it into countries and then truck it into Israel. The countries they could really do that with would be Egypt. That's not under attack. So your cargo to Israel would go into Cairo airport, let's say, and then FedEx puts it on a truck, and they truck it into Israel, bring it to a terminal, and they get it delivered. I don't know if they're doing that. And they could also do it with Jordan. They maybe could do it with Syria, but probably not Jordan. They could fly it into Jordan, which also gets attacked, but not that much, and then take it into Israel. But if they start doing that, then they may start attacking Jordan daily. I don't know, guys. So when Trump shuts the grid, it may reduce the effectiveness of Iran getting missiles to us. And then what happens next is we will really, really, really go to work on Lebanon to make sure they stop. And then the cargo will come in. Then the Houthis may start, but their efforts in the past have been so feeble, it's probably not going to really stop anything. So just giving you what's going on. All right. So we just broke new ground. I never heard anybody ever say this, but when you think about it, with Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, and Oman, it's very logical that it would have to fit into Elam somewhere, because there wasn't any name for any countries located there in the old days, biblical days. Okay. Katz, that's the guy, our defense minister, Katz. He says he's going to send Iran back decades if it keeps hitting cities. Worse than that. It's not going to turn them back to the Dark Ages. It's going to turn them back to abandonment. But all these wonderful Mohammedans are going to be leaving their country. Not one of these jerks in any of these countries manufactures anything. By that, let me name the countries: Iran, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Oman, and you could probably throw Iraq in there. They have some agricultural thing with the peasant class usually, or farmers that are more advanced, but they don't really manufacture anything. They have retail, but that's not much of an industry. A British Navy submarine has arrived in the Arabian Sea. It is capable of attacking Iran with Tomahawk missiles. It has, if the confrontation escalates. What Great Britain stammer doesn't understand is the insane Muslim nations' mentality and how they think, and especially with Iran, they don't pay any attention to a show of force. Like if he brought 11 submarines in, it wouldn't make a difference. They don't believe he has the guts to fight, and he doesn't. Let's read this for you. The Iranian news agency Mehr, MEHR, expands the Iranian response to the ultimatum issued by Trump last night. Say goodbye to electricity, it says, and a map was published showing power plants in Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, and Kuwait as potential targets for the retaliatory attacks. About 70 to 80% of the large power plants in the region were built along the shores of the Persian Gulf. Many of these infrastructures are located less than 50 kilometers from the coast from the Persian Gulf coast. Within Iran's striking range of short to medium range missiles, probably more medium range than short range, but easily attacked by Iran. So they intend to shut the lights off. You shut the lights off, you pretty seriously damage their oil wells, oil refineries, ports and piers and airports and stuff. And what are they going to do? They're going to leave. And we see they ran the price of gold down substantially. I'll cover that later. I think down in the 4,300 range because they're acquiring. They seem to know this is going to happen. And when this happens, the price of gold's going to go up like a rocket ship. They manipulate the markets for their gain. They're very crooked. Everyone is a millionaire in the Islamic Republic of Iran. Iran has issued a new 10 million rial piece of paper money. The value of this 10 million rial note in US dollars is $7. So they're basically making a $7 bill. So somebody made the decision to make that. So somebody's running something over there. Is going to be getting a targeted assassination if they figure out who's doing it, who's in control there. From Sunday, we had launches that came from Iraq and Iran. That's because there's Iranian-backed militias running around there in Iraq. So Iraq may bite the dust too, or at least parts of it. So basically, let's rephrase this again because it's important what I'm saying. Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, and Oman were not independent nations because they had no name for these places in the past. So they would have been part of Elam. Okay. So it's a very not nice thing that it takes 250 to 300 bombs. We don't use missiles that much. It would have been bombs to destroy the missile city. That's very scary. Now, we could hope that they don't have a lot of generators, or they just have 24-hour or 48-hour generators, 72 hours maybe, and then they're finished. That could be the case too. Trump knows that he can't do much with the Persian Gulf until he shuts down their missile launch capability. He doesn't want to put 6,000 Marines in there with 3 amphibious landing ships to find out that Iran's going to launch 195 missiles and 195 drones over there and destroy the ships and kill the Marines, which is probably what would happen. So he's got to stop that. "85% of the Iranian attacks with drones and missiles are on the Gulf states, not Israel. 15% goes to Israel. But they've got Hezbollah keeping us bopping. But that's got a limited lifespan. Hezbollah is no Iran. They don't have any missile cities that can take 250 bombs. They don't have that. That we know about. 4,911 rockets, missiles, and drones launched against Arab states in the Gulf, which would be, all of the usual suspects, plus Saudi Arabia and Jordan. They're not really going, and Iraq, of course, they're not really going after Syria. And 850 missiles and drones were launched against Israel. So the percentages they're giving us don't make sense. Let's run it. No, it makes sense. It's probably about 17%, 16%. Yeah, 15% is close. Yeah, no, it does work. Okay. Yeah, so they're going after the Arab states, and the reason they're going after the Arab states is to get some sort of a cessation of the fighting that provides them with war reparations, future guarantees against the war. However, the world will ever concoct that, I have no idea. And sanction relief. So, what might have happened to get Iran's range doubled is we don't know yet. Okay. There's experts are coming up with different opinions. Some saying that they're using a rocket with two stages. So there's a basic stage, the rocket launches, it gets up in the altitude, and it starts traveling, and then that falls off the missile, and then the other stage kicks in. Other people are saying there's other things that are taking place, like they cut the warhead size down, enabling them to go much further. We don't know. But what the experts are agreeing at or with is that the accuracy is diminished at the greater range. So they can get it over there, but they can't get much accuracy. So if they're going to hit Europe, they'll take pot shots. If they hit Europe, which I suspect they're going to try doing as their missile cities work, is I don't know what the responses are going to be. It's going to be real interesting to see. I don't know. If Trump shuts them down by attacking the grid, well, and it works, then they're not going to be able to attack anybody. See, the ports and piers are blown up in Iran. The airports are blown up. You put the grid down, you're going to be facing starvation and dehydration. Who's going to stay? The important thing is not that much right now how Israel managed to get missiles to go 4,000 kilometers instead of 2,000. That's, how they did it will leave to the analysts in America and Israel. They'll figure it out eventually. But, the fact that they can do it is critical. We're now going into Lebanon and doing what's being referred to as Gaza style home demolitions. So, when we knew there was a bad guy in Gaza, we would blow his house up. Frequently, the bad guy was in the house and he got killed, sometimes his family. And the house was generally rubbish. Um, After we attacked it. So it looks like this is the plan in Lebanon because they're attacking us daily and causing lots of problems. So we want it to stop quickly. But I'll tell you right now, I still don't see any validity in using. This is again Netanyahu and his stupidity with targeted assassinations and blowing up real estate. It's really, I think, the real estate destruction is designed to stop Israel from moving back into land that's biblically theirs, which would be like Netanyahu to do that, Mr. Anti Aliyah. And he created this targeted assassination to very little effectiveness. I don't know why they do it. You know what I mean? It's a tactic. It's a recognized tactic, but you know they should be going in and just getting any and all of their military. And we're pushing steadily deeper up northward into Lebanon. We've blown up, I believe, 5 bridges that are used to cross the Litani River into the south of Lebanon. The Litani River is 17 to 18 miles. It's a meandering river north of our border with Lebanon. And the Hezbollah people were able to come into the south using these bridges to get in. Well, the bridges are no more. All of them are defunct now. They've been blown up. But this doesn't get us too far because they can easily have launchers that go further. So I don't understand. It's another Netanyahu idea that's based in nothing. I don't understand. Dragging the war out again, are we, Benji? I don't know. We're definitely setting up a buffer zone. Does the buffer zone do any good? Yes, it does do good. I have to grant it to Netanyahu. It does do some good, and I'll elaborate. The cheap, easy-to-use missiles, Katyushas, are very, very easy. They're very easy to build a launcher. A launcher is a base plate and an angled piece of, cheap base metal from beer cans or whatever that just has a ramp on it, and that launches your Katyushas. They go a max of 18 miles. They're not aimable. So, yeah, by shutting off the Litani, we shut off the Katyushas pretty much, right? Okay. Basically, we shut that down. So that'll make it stops them from penetrating into Israel with motorcycles or paragliders or on foot or with cars or whatever, trying to use tunnels and stuff. It stops that. So yeah, it's got value, but not that much. It's harder for us to stop that. If the Iran war stops and the Lebanon war stops, then Trump has to show up in court and his criminal process continues. He doesn't want that. So we've been in pretty much more or less constant war for 2.5 years. Thank you, Netanyahu. And Trump plans on reopening the Straits of Hormuz. Well, he's going to have to get past up to 3,000 go-fast boats, and I'm pretty interested to seeing how that happens, or if it happens. Okay. Israel and U.S. officials continue to tout possibility of regime change in Iran. Okay, I hope they get it, but it's not going to happen. It's not in prophecy, so I don't really hope they're going to get it. I hope prophecy gets fulfilled. Iran fires 10 missile salvos on Sunday. One projectile lands in Lebanon. They hit Lebanon. Arrow 3 downs missiles outside the atmosphere. Well, they did it at high altitude, they're saying. Okay. I doubt they're going up into the firmament. They can't get through the firmament, but they like to talk like they do. Okay. Citing continued attacks, Israel to slash outbound flights to 1 per hour with 50 on board. So maybe if they cut down the outgoing, they can bring more cargo in. That might be the answer. Netanyahu, the tourists have left. So Netanyahu might be interested in let's having the cargo come in now. So this could maybe mean a breakthrough in cargo planes. They could have been keeping the cargo planes parked to handle getting the tourists out, but they pretty much have gone out. So Netanyahu's not that worried about getting more tourists out, and then you got to worry about repatriating them when they want to come back. So he's saying, well, let's just calm this stuff down for a while. You got to have a certain amount of outgoing because people in Israel got to go make business trips. So. They also sometimes need medical trips. They got to get medical somewhere outside Israel. Who knows what? IDF strikes Tehran after an Iranian cluster missile impacts caused damage in central Israel. No injuries. That's good. Trump reportedly sounds like he's going to travel to Israel next month to get Israel prize. They're going to give him some award, apparently. So he's so confident, he's saying he's going to come to Israel in April. The heathen rage. Let's see what happens. Iran just threatened to attack U.S. bondholders. I'm telling you, that cracks me up, Well, I don't think they're, going after Mrs. McGillicuddy with $100 bond in France. I think they're going after governments that are holding a lot of American paper, American bonds, and going after them. So basically, Iran is trying to take on the world. Gaga goo goo. Satellite imagery is confirming the destruction of a U.S. early warning radar installation in RAFHA, Saudi Arabia. So that means more doom and gloom for the Saudi oil fields and refineries. UAE president of what the heck is MBZ advisor Anwar Gargash says, as we confront the brutal Iranian aggression and discover our steadfast strength in resilience and endurance, our thinking does not stop at a ceasefire, but rather turns towards solutions that ensure lasting security in the Arabian Gulf, curbing the nuclear threat, missiles, drones, and the bullying of the Straits. So he's saying regime change or annihilation. But they're going to get it too. I think it's just great to watch our Heavenly Father use them to destroy themselves, brother against brother. Why are we saying brother against brother? Because their father's Abraham. Their mother's not Sarah, but that's why. They're afraid that the aggression could be turned into a permanent state. See, what happens in Zechariah 12, let's stay on this a little bit better, because we just had a breakthrough in prophecy that I don't think anybody ever got before. I got it from the Lord. And then I had to put it together to make it make sense. But Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, and Oman, the countries on the Persian Gulf, they're not in the siege against Israel because they're too far away. It's the ones right up on us that are in the siege. And some come and join in also, but they're not. And they probably wouldn't have joined in because they're such cowards and stuff. So they're getting it this way. Getting it is getting it. Recompenses comes. There's no escaping it. You could listen to Trump and Stammer and Netanyahu, whoever you want, all you want. I'll listen to Jehovah and I'll read the word of God. Yeshua is the word made flesh, and I'll just wait for the prophecies to come to pass. Thank you. And they are coming. It comes, it all comes, and it's coming so nice. How sweet it is. We're not that far off. Look at this. Come on. We're not far away. It's just most people, like what, 99%, 99.5% don't understand it. Iran threatening to cause blackouts in the region. I assume that means if we take out the grid, which I think Trump has 100% intentions of doing it. Why? Because he knows if he puts the Marines on that island, KHARG, that they use to control the Persian Gulf, and 90% of their oil goes off through there. He shut down 90% of their oil, basically 100%, I think, in reality, because the other places are under threat. So he could dominate their oil, and that's what he wants, but he's not going to get that. So that means he's going to shut the grid down because he knows he has to cut the flow of missiles down, or he can't bring 6,000 Expeditionary Force Marines to the Karg Island with 3 amphibious carrier ships that are going to offload tanks and artillery and missile launchers and personnel carriers and all sorts of stuff. You can't do it. And vertical takeoff planes and helicopters and stuff. So what's going on with your gas prices this morning? WTI, which we'll call West Texas, let's call it American oil, $98, $99 a barrel. They're suppressing it. And the Brent, they're losing control here. 112 to 113 a barrel. They're losing control. It's coming up. They're really jamming gold down. I think they want to acquire as much as they can at low prices and then sell it. And the bums ran silver down to 65. Don't worry, it's going to go up. I'm telling you what's going to happen. And Trump and CNN are not telling you what's really going to happen. They're telling you Trump's pipe dreams, that's all. I believe it was last night. It could have been the night before. I think it was the night before last night. They used B-1B or B-52 heavy bombers successfully destroying a ballistic missile base. This is a base, not a underground missile city, a base. Of the IRGC. It's a missile base of the IRGC Aerospace Force in the city of Yazd, the same base that the Israeli Air Force had bombed several times, but failed to stop it from launching ballistic missiles. Oh, it must have been a missile city at the base. I'm sorry. It appears that's the case. This secondary explosions lasting from the U.S. airstrike on the base. It's estimated that hundreds of IRGC Aerospace Force personnel working at the site were killed and buried underground. Well, somebody's fighting a war for real. This is a little bit unclear. Official Iranian media presents stickers that have been attached to missiles that will soon be launched at Israel. A picture of Pedro Sanchez, the Prime Minister of Spain, he hates us, with a quote from his statement about the war against Iran. The statement is the Iranians thank Sanchez, who will soon be launched at Israel. So they're saying that Sanchez is going to go attack Israel? Nah, I don't know what this means. He's not going to be able to do that. He wants to try it. He's out of his mind. He'll have stealth jets flying all over his country, blowing everything up. I mean, he's not going to do it. He ain't going to do it. Trump will have harsh words with him. He's already on Trump's nasty list. This is very funny to listen to. This comes from Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent of America. He says the current state of command and control of the Iranian leadership. He says this is Hitler's bunker. Yeah, this is at the end. Hitler was hiding in a bunker, right? Hitler is dead. Well, Khomeini is dead. Himmler is dead. Now, Himmler was propaganda, I think, minister. Goring was dead. That might have been the guy that ran his Air Force. I don't remember all their names. Most of what you're seeing now are lone wolf activities. So it could be that some general or something has got command of something, and they're not coordinating and they're just going out and lashing. I don't believe it's true. I think they're way more coordinated than that. The two missiles shot yesterday towards Diego Garcia were out of desperation. I believe that's true. I think the desperation was they were trying to scare Europe into putting pressure on Trump to, end the fighting in a way that was advantageous to Europe. But yeah, to some extent that's what it was, but they were also trying to blow up Diego Garcia. They weren't just trying for a bluff; they were trying for destruction, and they didn't make it. And they might not have good capability against a country like America or Israel with long range launches like that because the accuracy suffers, but they might be able to make it against France or the UK or something like that. It may work much better over there. I don't know. We got to see. The spokesperson on the Iranian Khatam al Arabiya, a another newspaper. So he says to President Trump this. Now, this is not going to work well with Trump. This is going to get Trump very angry. Here we go. Okay. It's a rather nasty. Well, I'll read it to you. Hey, Trump, you're fired. You're familiar with this sentence? Thank you for your attention to this matter. Okay, that was what he said. Now, Trump used to have a TV show where people would compete in business situations, and if you came out at the top, he'd give you a job and you'd get a chance to work under Trump or something like that. I don't know. Okay. These are two sentences attributed to Trump. The first from a past show he hosted, and the second, Trump's signature on his threats. Okay. Now, Trump's not the kind of guy that's going to laugh and say, ha, ha, ha. You know, Trump's the kind of guy that's going to get infuriated and attack harder. And if you were going to put it in terms of a bulldog, he would bite down harder and shake his head. So, you know, and don't make the mistake of being so sure Iran's out of action. And don't make the mistake of assuming that shutting the grid off is going to stop all the missile launches. It's definitely going to impede a lot of problems for them. They're going to have a lot of trouble putting gas in vehicles, getting the gas to come up from the tanks at gas stations, which is an electric pump. It's not going to work. So they're going to have trouble gassing vehicles of various nature. Gassing planes would be a problem, but what planes? So I guess they have a few airliners. I don't know. Opening up bridges to let ships pass, that would be a problem, but what ships do they have that would need to pass? And we'd have to lift the bridge up. They don't have any of that anymore, I don't think. It's going to hurt food. What are the supermarkets going to do? You're not going to be able to get gas out of the pumps at the stations. So when your gasoline supply dries up for your generator, how are you going to get more gas for the generator? It might not be the actual answer. It could evolve to the point where America's going to have to remember America's in a snare, and they're going to get sucked in deeper here. Okay, that's probably part of the snare, and their weapons are going to get used up here. Okay, so what might happen is the grid thing doesn't work, and Iran runs around destroying more of the oil and natural gas in the Middle East and destroying the desalinization plants by the Persian Gulf that these countries use and knocking their grid out. And that got to spike oil prices and got to spike gold. It just can't miss. It's just got to. They're suppressing it. It'll wear off and it'll go up very high. So they hate that. So Trump, it might come down to using B-52s, B-1s, and B-2s to attack these missile cities with heavy, heavy bombs. Now, if you hit it with a lot of 5,000-pound bombs, like maybe 10 or something like that, it may do the job. Or you might need 20, but it could cause America to use up a lot of its ordnance and get the missile cities to stop. And if he wants to, Trump could build up, a thing where he takes out, 10 missile cities a day. Not so easy. Maybe 6 would be more like it. 5 or 6. That's a long haul. If we got to go for 100, that's another 3 weeks. But the amount of missiles being launched is going to go down, not like this. It's going to go down every day, less and less and less. He still may be buying time to get that aircraft carrier back here from repairs in Greece and Crete, and get the Marines here 3 amphibious ships. So it may not be that effective. We'll have to see. Now, I want to bring up something with you in Revelation 17 about the attack on Washington, D.C., and I am going to go do that with you in a minute. What happened here? I think I hit the wrong button. That's what happened here. Okay. There we go. I want to work out the logistics of this prophecy, the tactics, logistics, like I did with Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, and Oman to meet the prophecy. And I'm going to do this again with this one, but I'm going to take a break for a minute and then come back and do it, okay? I'll be quick.
Your boneyard. You got so many bones in your cage.
Actually, we're going to have to do Revelation 18 and 17. So we'll just do parts of it so we don't spend a lot of time So it talks. I'll just read it. And verse 1, 17:1. And there came one of the seven angels which had the seven vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. Waters are people with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. This is speaking of the daughter of Babylon, America. So he carried me away in the spirit. And now, if you think America is not the daughter of Babylon, you should spend a lot of time reading Jeremiah 50 and 51. And I'd love to hear your arguments why it's not. Don't waste your time saying, oh, it's not. That doesn't mean anything. Anybody with a first grade education could jump out there and say it's not. Why? Where's the scriptures? Prove your point with the scriptures. America, it says in Jeremiah 50, 51, is the great voice. That sure fits. Trump's not the great voice all of a sudden. America's the hammer of the whole earth. Oh, all of a sudden America's not the hammer of the whole earth? Your turn. Let's see what you come up with. Having the kings of the earth commit fornication, well, that sure sounds like America. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness. Now, we don't know where that wilderness is. And I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. The woman sitting on him, dominating him, using it. And the woman was arrayed in purple, rich, and scarlet, rich, and decked with gold and precious stones, rich, and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, rich, full of abominations and filthiness. So the way it gets its abominations and filthiness across to the other kings, is through riches. Hold on, my iPad shifted chapters on me. This piece of junk. The inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw her, the beast with her sitting on it, and the woman was dressed with all these rich things. Filthiness of her fornication, that's a spiritual fornication, worshiping Satan and the unclean spirits. And upon her forehead was a name written, Mysterious Babylon. No, they twisted the word to keep you from the truth. It's secret Babylon is what it really means. Secret Babylon, the great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints. That's referencing America, as you'll see. And with the blood of the martyrs of Yeshua. And then I saw her. I wondered with great admiration. And the angel said unto me, Wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman and of the beast that carrieth her, which hath the 7 heads and 10 horns. That's not Satan, that's the beast. The beast that thou sawest was and is and shall ascend. It was, and then it went to the pit, and then it comes out of the pit, ascend out of the bottomless pit, and go into perdition, and it goes into the lake of fire. The beast and the false prophet are the first ones thrown alive into the lake of fire. Go into perdition, and they that dwell on the earth shall wonder whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was and is. He was, he comes back from the pit, he is. He was and is not. He was on the earth, then he's not because he's in the pit, and yet is, and then he comes back from the pit. And here, the mind which hath wisdom, the 7 heads are 7 mountains. Those are probably the continents. On which the woman sits. Well, she runs the whole earth. Satan is the god of this age. So all the countries in the world are run by people who serve Satan. And there are 7 kings. 5 are fallen. 1 is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short time. You could go crazy with who are these five kings. Let's just keep moving. And the beast that was and is not, and even he is the eighth and is of the seven, and goeth into perdition. So he joins the other countries. It's sort of like you could read about him in Daniel 11. It's no great thing. The church builds him up way, way, way more than I would. Read Revelation 11, Daniel 11. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings. And they that are with him are called and chosen. Many are called, but few are chosen. These are called and chosen. These are the elect. Okay? And faithful. And he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. So the waters are people. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall have. They shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. Well, are you seeing 10 kings or 10 nations that hate America emerging? Well, more than that, who's friends with America? Israel or who else? Says, I will kindle fires in and about your cities. And it says here, they'll burn her with fire. So the 10 kings have something to do with that. For God, the church liars will sit there and start up with the whole thing, who the 10 kings are, and all that, You'll know who they are when you know who they are. For God hath put their hearts put in their hearts to fulfill his will and agree, his will and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast until the words of God shall be fulfilled, the prophecies. And the woman, now pay close attention, and the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. That's America. And the city is Washington, D.C., District of Columbia, which is not part of the 50 states. That's why it's set aside to be a city. It's a city administered by Congress. And when you see the Columbia motion pictures, you see it's the Statue of Liberty. It's some flat-chested woman that may not be a real woman, holding a torch, the light, on a pedestal, come to me, I am the light, that's mad upon their idols. This is also the same woman that's on it's the statue on the roof of the Capitol building. Now we'll go into Revelation 18. And after these things, I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lighted with his glory, and he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils and the hold of every foul spirit and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. Well, those are the demons, and you could see how much worse America's gotten over time, recently especially, so it's much, much worse. For all nations have drunk of the wine of her wrath, of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. It's a spiritual thing, worshiping demons. And the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through her abundance for the abundance of her delicacies. This is more so in the past, 40, 50 years, 60, 70 years than it is right now, because America's just about gone. It's very close to being finished. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that you may not be partakers of her sins, and that you receive not her plagues. So the come out of her is the next great Exodus, as you'll soon see, well, as I've covered in the past. For her sins have reached into heaven, and God hath remembered her lawlessness. Reward her even as God hath remembered her lawlessness. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her, double according to her works in the cup which she hath filled. Fill her double. So she's getting a double shot of the wrath of the Lord, a double punishment leading to destruction. It's pretty gruesome. How much she hath glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her, for she saith in her heart, I sit a queen and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. Well, that's the policies of the leaders of America, and game's over, Therefore shall her plagues come in one day. So does it happen suddenly? Well, if the plagues are coming in one day, yeah. death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire. There we go. I will kindle fires in and about a city. There's a lot of fires in America for last 2 years. For strong is Adonai Jehovah, which judgeth her. And the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning. Standing, okay, they're going to see the smoke of her burning. Okay. Remember that. We got to start locating logistically a place where the ships can see her burning. And we're going to do that in the next few minutes. So now I'm in verse 10. Standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, alas, alas, that great city Babylon, or Babel in Hebrew, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. That's for the city. Jeremiah 50:51 tells us that the daughter of Babylon has many cities. It's the United States. But the capital is what we're talking about here, mostly, not exclusively, mostly. And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise anymore. The merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones and of pearls and fine linen and purple and silk and scarlet and all thine woods and all manner of vessels of ivory and all manner of vessels of those vessels of most precious wood and of brass and iron and marble and cinnamon and odors and ointments. That's your face creams and all of that, frankincense, that's an herb, and wine, the rich buy wine for thousands of dollars a bottle, and oil and fine flour, that's good food, and wheat and beasts. Well, what kind of, Brahman bulls, racehorses, rare animals, and chariots. Chariot could be a chariot, it could be a vehicle, a Rolls Royce, I don't know. And slaves and souls of men. And the fruits that thy soul, well, America used to have slaves, and the fruits that thy soul lusted after, Um, da, 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 da. The soul lusted after, departed from thee, and all things which were dainty and goodly are departed from thee, and thou shalt find them no more at all. The merchants of these things which were made rich by her shall stand afar off for the fear of her torment, weeping and wailing, that's mourning, and saying, Alas, that great city, Washington, D.C., that was clothed in fine linen, wealthy, and purple, wealthy, and scarlet, wealthy, and decked with gold and gold and precious stones and pearls. For in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught. Okay. For in 1 hour great riches has come to naught. That's pretty good destruction. And every shipmaster, so we're talking about ships, and all the company in ships and sailors, and as many as trade by sea, stood afar off. Now, they're not immediately on top of her, they were far off. We're going to find out where afar off is. I already know, I'll tell you. And it's not that far, it's 35 miles. And cried when they saw the smoke of her burning. That's what they're watching, the smoke, 35 miles away. The port of Baltimore. It's a deep water port, a big one, the port of Baltimore, 35 miles away, saying, What city is like unto this great city? And they cast dust upon their heads and cried, weeping and wailing, saying, Alas, alas, that great city wherein were made rich all that had ships in the sea by reason of her that had ships in the sea by reason of her costliness, for in 1 hour she's made desolate. That's DC. Rejoice over her, you heaven and you holy apostles and prophets, for God hath avenged you on her. The unclean spirit that was going after the prophets and apostles and stuff is in America now. That's what it's talking about. But they're rejoicing when America gets destroyed. That's heaven. So whose side are you on? And a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone and cast it into the sea, saying, thus with violence shall that great city, Babylon, or Babel in English, be thrown down, and shall be found no more at all. And the voice of harpers and musicians and of pipers and trumpeters shall be heard no more at all. The sound of a millstone shall not be heard any more at all in her. And the light of a candle shall be no more at all in thee. Now, that's not the entire United States initially, it's just DC. And the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee. For thy merchants were the great men of the earth, for by thy sorceries were all nations deceived, and in her was found the blood of prophets and of saints and of all that were slain upon the earth. Okay, so that's the end of the great city. And that happens suddenly. And the port where they're watching the smoke is in Baltimore, 35 miles away. And you'll see the smoke, believe me, in Baltimore. Now, when that happens, it's sort of a targeted assassination, isn't it? Kind of a report yourself where DC is gone, and a lot of people are probably gone too. The government. Do you think that will encourage North Korea, South Korea, and Russia, and if there's anything left of Iran, which I doubt, leave Iran out, I think, they'll attack America along with a bunch of Muslim states because they'll say, this is our chance. And you'll be getting out because Yeshua will appear, and then you'll go on the next great Exodus. So there you have it. So the ship's Baltimore, 35 miles away. Washington, D.C. has some naval activity, but it's really just for yachts and, little pleasure boats and stuff like that. It's not for commercial use. It's not a deep water port or anything like that. So now just remember that, a lot of you are being fed a line of crap by false teachers. And I just want to open one thing up to you since we're dwelling on the beast. We'll go to Revelation 13, verse 1. Oh boy, that didn't work. I'm on 18. Okay, let's get to 13. That worked. And I stood upon the sand. This is John, Apostle John. I stood upon the sand of the sea, and that's by the beach, right? Okay, and saw a beast, there he is, come up out of the sea, So he's coming up out of the pit, and the sea was probably over the pit. That's my take. Anyway, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns. So each of the horns was a nation, I suppose, and or a kingdom, and upon his heads the names of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard. That's the attributes of a leopard, not literal. And his feet were as the feet of a bear, again, attributes. And his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great glory. So the dragon is Satan, and he gives the beast what? The dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. So where does this happen? And a lot of you are probably being taught that it happens in Israel. Well, let's see if the Bible tells us where it is, because it says that Satan gives the beast his seat. So all we got to do is find out where Satan's seat is, if the Bible tells us, and we know where the beast is going to operate out of, where he's going to have the false prophet in his temple. Okay, we go to Revelation 2:12. And to the angel of the church in Pergamos. Now it says Pergamos, and it's Pergamos, which is a city in North Cyprus by the water, which is North Cyprus. It's run by Turkey, formerly of the Ottoman Empire. Okay, Muslim country, of course. So this is talking about Pergamos. Now some of the modern translations botch it, and they say Pergamum. But let me tell you something. There never is and never will be a Pergamos or a Pergamum in Israel. Pergamos is in Cyprus, the part of Cyprus owned, operated, and controlled by Turkey. And Pergamum comes from Turkey. So, but Pergamum's not correct. Okay. Write these things, saith he which hath the sharp sword with 2 edges. And when you read Revelation 19, with that double-edged sword coming out of his mouth, it's Yeshua. Now we're in verse 13. I know thy works and where thou dwellest, even where Satan's seat is. So now the Bible, the Word of God, Yeshua is the Word made flesh, tells us that Satan's seat is in Pergamos, up in North Cyprus. Thou dwellest even where Satan's seat is, and thou holdest fast my name, and hast not denied my faith, even in those days when Antipas, or Antipas maybe sounds nicer, sorry, was my faithful martyr, who was slain among you where Satan dwelleth. So Satan dwells in Pergamos, and Satan's throne or seat is in Pergamos, and that's where the beast is going to be, in Satan's seat in Pergamos. Not what these idiots are teaching you. And that only makes sense if you want to believe your Bible. There's a lot of people that could care less what the Bible says. They're going to believe what their church says if their church makes it comfortable for them and tickles their ears. They're not really interested in anything else, you know. So that's churchianity. You don't believe the Bible, you believe what the churches do. Okay, let me take a look at the live stream if we're getting anybody with questions and prayer requests or anything like that. Gog and Magog is rather non-specific for countries. You can play with theories as to what country they are, but you get some insights into it. But we're not in the days of Gog and Magog. We're coming up to Zechariah 12, Malachi 3 and 4. That's where we're coming. And we're coming to Jeremiah 50 and 51 and Revelation 17 and 18. Hang on a minute. I got to go through these. Let me see what we got here. They can find hidden missile base, but Delta Force troops with FPV Ukraine-style drones attack as support. Well, I hope they can, but I don't think their ordnance is powerful enough. I'm sorry. It seems that it's not. I wish we knew how many launchers these morons have, but we don't. We thought we did, and I think the number we thought they had was quite low compared to the reality. They got mobile launches, which are hard as heck to find. person that said the anxiety causing the stress and maybe gallstones, try getting high pH water. I think Evian is a good one. There's a few others around that have a high Fiji water. It's a high pH. That might help you some. I don't know. Maybe. Um, okay, my Heavenly Father, we have somebody who's asking for healing of esophageal closures, and I ask you to heal that person such as they request. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you guys can agree with that if you like and are believers. Yeah, it might get pretty hot on the ground with the missiles and the equipment. Well, I don't know what's going to happen. We'll have to see. It would seem to most of the people that are aware of this stuff is that the Iranians would do something to enable the missile launchers to continue without the electrical grid up, like generators, but we'll have to see. They're not so sure they're going to lose, the Iranians. No. They think this war is going to drive Europe and America into settling with them. And this settlement will include lifting of sanctions. So they could go about their merry way, making a lot of money and building big crimes. Okay. Um, that's what I got. I'll get a prayer out for us. My Heavenly Father, Jehovah. Now, you guys can agree with this, of course, if you're a believer. My Heavenly Father, Jehovah, I pray for me and my wife and all the true believers in their households. I pray we would have your strength and stamina and endurance. I pray your healing and recuperative power would flow through us, um, working everywhere in our bodies it needs to work, and we wouldn't get sick or hurt. And I pray for ourselves and our animals and pets to be safe and secure and happy, healthy, and whole. And I pray for the peace of Jerusalem, and I pray that any of us that need work find it, any of us that need jobs get them, and any of us that need more clients or customers get those. Um, and I pray that we would all have adequate money and finances and then some. I pray we would have more faith and wisdom. And I submit this to you, my Heavenly Father, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. Now, some spiritual warfare. And you can agree with this as a believer. Good if you do. My Heavenly Father, wait a second. My Heavenly Father, Jehovah, I come to you and with a loosing of any and all witchcraft and sorcery aimed, directed, or targeting me and my wife, any of the true believers in our households, as well as anything we own, possess, control, or set our hand to. Any such witchcraft, sorcery, etc., aimed at targeting us, these things pertaining to us, is hereby cast null and void for all time, no value, no effect forever, shall never return again, ever. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can agree with that. And I guess we cut some wood today, and we uncovered some pretty interesting things, and they're explained by prophecy fulfillment as well. In other words, watching current events. And I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. And please pray I get my packages delivered. I'm trying to get packages delivered, and it's a problem because of the war. I appreciate if you would pray for that, and pray that we don't keep getting attacked badly in Israel. I put a prayer request out yesterday, and things went noticeably better during the night for Israel. Okay, so please keep praying that. Pray for the peace and safety protection of Israel. And please pray I get my packages. And if anything unusual happens, I'll do some live streams. If not, I'll just be updating on Telegram during the day. And I'm out. Thank you.